Take a look at these green hinalmaki. Whoa, that is something. That's just one branch off one plant that we actually tip layered. Really good fruit, and the birds don't even see it ripening because it stays green. The best way you can support our channel is if you give us a thumbs up. We'd highly appreciate it. And don't forget, there is a seed and plant swap coming up in Knockcrockery in County Roscommon here in Ireland on the 3rd of July. So don't miss it. And for more details, I'll put a link below. See you there. Don't forget, we have a plant sale going on at the moment, so please go to our website to find out more. How are we doing? This Martin from Gardens for Life. I'm just going to do a little bit of a vlog style video. I just want to show you the kind of things that I'm doing on a daily basis here in my gardens. And I'm just done pulling the nettles, so you'll have to forgive me if I have any signs or marks, even on my hands or face, from pulling them up, because you can't be too careful with them. They always get you back. But I have me mega gloves here, and those did a great job at protecting me anyway, sufficiently. And now I'm here in the pizza garden, and I'm about to pull up a few more of these chard plants for the chickens. So those are specially grown for the chickens, and they do really well because we give them greens every day, which is actually more of a natural diet, especially compared to what chickens are used to where they're from the jungle in China. Grains are definitely not a natural diet for chickens, and 100% grain is not really a good idea, I don't think. It's only fair to give them as good a life as we can and to give them a good balanced diet, somewhat close to what they're used to from their ancestors. This is last year's chard now, so you can actually eat those seed heads. They're just as good as the stalks, as you would be well used to, and the leaves are also you'd be very familiar with. Those have actually got very small leaves. I've already pulled up a few here. As you can see here, there are some larger leaves still available here, but we're going to pull these up because we don't want them going to seed, because in this particular area we don't want too many chard plants popping up within about 3 times the area that they've been taken up so far. We'll save that for another area instead. So what we do is to cook them ourselves. We simply take the top foot of each stalk and we just put it like that, and we just get a bunch like this. It only takes a minute. Well, these are actually rainbow chard, but as you can see, a lot of the other colours are already gone. They didn't make it. So perhaps the white and the green are the most reliable ones out of the bunch. So we take a bunch of we take a bunch of chard like that, and we just bring that into the house and saute it for about less than 5 minutes, and that's a good side dish. That was one of the chickens. Yeah, so other than that, we just take up the whole plant because we don't want these here anymore. We just check as you can see, quite the root ball comes up. Normally you can also, with a no-dig garden, you can actually cut off the root, but in this case we won't bother because it's only a shallow root system on these plants. If it was a tap-rooted plant, we would definitely not pull it up. We would actually cut it off or twist it out. So look at that. It's quite a large amount of leaf, and the chickens are going to love it. We know from experience that they do. Here you go. Look at this giant wood mallow that actually came back from last year, so it has stayed perennial. This is its 2nd year of growth, and it is quite the plant. There's some dahlias right beside that, and a Portuguese kale going to seed. Let's see if we're going to get viable seeds from that. With brassicas, especially with kale, you're supposed to have at least 30 plants to make seeds that are viable genetically, so that you have a fairly diverse mix of DNA. I'll give you an example here. We have our brassica island over here. There's at least about 60 or 70 different plants there, a number of different varieties of kales. And this Portuguese kale certainly has gotten some of the pollinators jumping from here over to the brassica island. Those actually flower for so long, and they provide valuable nectar to the insects. And here's my favorite breakfast plant. As you can see here, it's also quite ornamental. The purple tree spinach. That has self-seeded here. I didn't even need to plant that. We only planted it for the first time and in late spring or early summer last year. As you can see in the foreground here, there's some nettles here that need to be pulled. Well, we do have a bit of a barrier between the grass and the garden bed, which is basically a 2-foot strip of plastic. Here's some Italian flatleaf parsley going to seed, and some comfrey that's only been planted here recently. So for those of you who know about the pizza garden already, this is actually its third season now, its third growing season, and it is only 2 years old. And as you can see here, it is getting a little bit weedy. There are some carrots planted here and some oca from last year, and there's even the odd perennial that we planted in here. However, in most areas we have what we desire to grow. For example, radish and herbs at the end there, oregano and some shallots. Even some courgette plants here, various different varieties. Some orphrey, and as you can see, lots of other bits and pieces, some from last year like this. This is the root parsley. I believe it's perennial, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to take it out because I don't want it spreading seeds all over the garden, because we've had, well, I wouldn't say we've had enough of it. We have enough of it. We have enough parsley. And the charge definitely will have to go. In general, there is only these little seedlings, and I didn't want to pull them up because they're actually currants. They're currants, and they're our own currants, so they're a mixture between all of the different currant plants that are all along the borders of our garden, all the way up to there and beyond, and this way too. So we should actually let those grow and see if they're which ones are actually going to carry viable fruit. Not this one, but this one, yes. This one is a good one. This is a currant. These are marigolds, and they're very far behind in the season compared to full sun spots, or spots where there is full sun. In our bigger garden, there is some marigolds that have been flowering for the last 6 weeks, and these are great mullein plants, and they're quite majestic. Look at the size of the leaf. And the flowering stalk, this is actually great mullein. It makes one stalk, one flowering stalk, and it makes seeds as well from those. And there are some more over here. We let those grow. Those are actually all volunteers, same as these fennel plants. We're just going to dig those up when we need them and use them elsewhere, or plant them, transplant them. This is a great, sorry, not a great mullein, this is an Olympic mullein. This is the Greek version of the mullein. As you can see, it's multi-stemmed or multicolate, and it flowers just as long as the great mullein, and if not even longer. I wanted to show you these beetroots. Look at that. These beetroots have been planted here early summer last year, and they grew to that size and they overwintered. Now they're making stalks and seeds. Take a look at that. Look at my hand in comparison. They're huge. These are Shiogio, however you pronounce that. So now we have a ton of fennel plants, which we must transplant. and these are the mother plants that made seeds last year. As you can see, they're already nearly 2 meters tall, and we have all the fennel we could ever want. And an American elder tree from Florida in the middle of it. I must free that up a bit because it's more valuable than these fennel plants because we have lots of fennel. And this looks to be a self-seeded green sprouting broccoli. It's definitely not Portuguese kale, I don't think, by looking at the leaves. Looks more like a broccoli. All in all, the pizza garden was a great success, and I've spent very little time into it this year. Maybe about 10 or 15 hours in total in maintenance. Maybe even less actually, maybe 10 hours of maintenance. I know some of you are going to say it shows, but I think it's still quite remarkable on how clean it can still stay with very little maintenance. Even this is a willow tree here. Unfortunately, we can't keep them all, so we have to pull them up. We do sometimes transplant these though, depending on what kind of tree it is. But there's very little weeding to do. So we are expanding the pizza garden and the brassica island, which is just ahead there. And we're planning on expanding it in this area. We are going to get some more compost and cover it entirely in one giant no-dig garden bed, or just a garden without beds. And we are going to try something new, and we're going to inform you about that at a later stage, but very soon. We've got another bit of cardboard. It's great stuff from our local furniture warehouse. Wow, a van load is quite a bit of cardboard. Check it out. I think we're going to be able to cover most of our back garden with that, and just some job to move it now and take the tape off it. What do you do with cardboard? What can you do with that?
Cover compost.
You could. What about covering the grass first and then covering it with compost? One way to do it.
I prefer covering the compost.
For those of you who have seen the pizza garden making of videos, there's actually a 3-part series. We covered the entire pizza garden, which is about 10 by 10 meters if you include the outside parts, with this much cardboard, so one van load basically. Our no-dig garden beds here have been widely ignored for the last 6 months, and you can see there's the odd nettle or thistle coming up, and some other plants that are not so desirable. But luckily they're really easy to pull up. Look at that, you can pull up a thistle without gloves as long as you grab it very low, below the ground. There's no prickly parts. Vicious thing. Gotta take care of the silverweed straight away, because it will definitely take over the place. It kind of spreads by suckers as well as seed. Oh, the elephant garlic is looking good. Should be ready to harvest soon, I'd say.